hello to my viewers. I'm on a Discord chat with Wayne, who's another Tandy Coco enthusiast, retro computer enthusiast. And the purpose of this video is for us to kind of look at some. So Wayne has been in a lot of the conversations with my Discord about my using LLMs to generate Basic09 code and just generating retro code in general. And he's mentioned that he's wanting to take some of the things that I'm doing as a way to help maybe troubleshoot some issues that he's had. So that's basically the purpose of this video, is to have us look, have him kind of introduce me to what it is that he's working on, and do a little sort of pairs programming to see if we can come up with some large language model options to help troubleshoot or work on these things. So yeah, Wayne, welcome.
Hi, thank you, and hi everybody that watches this video. I've been in the OS9 arena, if you will, for going on 35 years, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever 1989 is ago.
Yeah, it's getting up there. That's getting, was it 35 years at least? 34, 36 years,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got started with OS9 right off the bat. I found Basic09 and it fascinated me, and so I kind of left the regular RS-DOS stuff behind and got totally immersed in OS9 and Basic09.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I noticed early on was that because of my bad habit of not making backups of my source code, that I would write something and then I would inadvertently delete the source code without realizing that's what I was deleting.
Oh no.
And I would be stuck with the module and no source code. And even back then, it wasn't that easy to remember what I wrote.
Right.
So I decided to write a program that would basically reconstitute my source code out of the module.
Right. So that's the Decode? Is that what that's called?
Yeah. Well, originally it was called Decomp.
Decomp.
For Decompiler.
Right.
Okay. I found out later that there is some network software called Decomp that I didn't know about at that time. So there would have been a name conflict if this thing had ever gotten big.
Right.
So when I came back to it in the 2000s, I started out. Well, I looked at my source code from back then and realized that I couldn't even read what I wrote.
Right.
I used such short and cryptic variable names that I couldn't remember what did what.
Right.
Well, so I decided to start over because I'd also learned a lot more since then.
Right.
And so I started working on it again under the name Decode.
Okay. Oh, so this is not a continuation from your original project.
No, I started over.
Essentially. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the same program, just written differently.
Right. Easier to read and easier to maintain.
And easier to remember.
Right, yeah.
So, but Decomp handled merged module files. Decode did not. I was starting from scratch, so I wanted to make sure that I could handle one module correctly.
Right.
Before I started working on merged module files.
Right, okay.
So, and that's what Unpack is about. Unpack is going into merged module files.
Okay.
So Decode basically is the engine inside of Unpack.
Right.
Okay. So, but there are differences. First of all, in Decode, the main Decode module handles all of the file stuff. Reading the file header, making sure the data files are open and ready for use and stuff like that. Plus, it had a completely different kind of display. And so in Unpack, I've removed all of the extra display stuff, and Unpack handles the file stuff now. So Decode doesn't have to.
Right.
And the way I wrote Decode was like it was one big program. And because it was broken into pieces, because it was way too big to be in one file, I was using the change statement to change from one part to the next. So I'm not doing that with Unpack because, Unpack calls each part, as it's needed, and then kills that part out of memory and loads the next part and runs it.
Right.
So there are big differences, but the biggest difference is that because Decode only handled one module, and one module would never exceed 32,767 bytes, I could do everything with integers.
Right.
Because merge module files can exceed 32,767 bytes in size, I have to use real values for the offsets to keep track within the file. Where is this module in this file? Okay. So converting everything to real values has apparently screwed something up. So now I'm working on bugs I haven't had in 30 years.
Right. So how do you maintain your source code nowadays to prevent that?
I've got multiple copies.
Okay.
Not only do I have multiple copies, I have copies of previous versions. Whenever I made significant enough changes to change the version number,
Right.
I would make a copy of the previous version and put it in a different folder so that I wouldn't lose it in case I needed it. And
is there a reason why you don't use something like GitHub to maintain?
Well, I've got Git.
Oh, you do?
Okay. Yeah, and I actually have Decode on Git. I think it's Decode. It might be just Decom I have there. I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, I have one or the other there, maybe even both. But I never use it.
Oh, yeah.
I am so accustomed to working on everything directly myself.
Right.
That I never think about GitHub, even though I should. It's there. I've got it set up. I just never use it.
Yeah, well, it's useful for, I like it because it allows you to do things like branching. So if you're trying to experiment with some code, you can create a branch off the main source and work on it. And if you get it into a shape that you like, you can merge it back into the old, the main branch, or you can just throw it away and still have your original, and then you can also track your history and that sort of stuff. Like I do like those sorts of value adds for things for source code repositories like GitHub. But yeah, I mean, if it works for you, when you're the only person working on it, it's less of a payoff. Certainly, when you have multiple people working on the same source code, it almost becomes a necessity. But when it's
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing. If you've got multiple people working on it, then GitHub works better because each person can contribute without affecting the original source. Whereas I'm basically doing this all by myself. I don't have any help. I mean, I've got help in the form of people in the Discord answering questions and helping me figure things out here and there, but I'm the only one actively working on the code.
Right.
So I just do it all on my hard drive because that's what I'm used to. So some habits die hard, they say.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, I'm looking at my variable reference information, and apparently the initial part in Decode where it's identifying references in the I-code area is correct. It is the variable defining routine that's screwing things up. And then the program that I'm using to read the record data, I've got to look and see what I changed in the data file because it's reading the data wrong. Because of the transitioning and the fact that Decode does exist on the EOU release disk,
right.
I don't want there to be conflicts in the names or in the files because the files are different to some degree.
Right.
So I created a new series of data files in the same data directory, but in a subdirectory called Unpack.
Right.
And so I'm using that, and then the procedures themselves I've renamed to have a U at the beginning of them to distinguish them from the other ones.
Oh, so
So I'm
your
not,
Unpack has essentially a copy of the Decode source separate from the original. Like you're not just calling the Decode.
no, you can't. The way I wrote Decode is so different that it would conflict.
Oh, okay. So
So
are
I
you
have
doing
to,
revisions to the Decode source along with in the Unpack project then?
I made a copy of the Decode source and I'm making revisions to the copy.
Okay. Are you planning on rolling that back into the one that's in the EOU at some future date, or
No, it'll never work.
it'll never work? Yeah.
Again, primarily because of the fact that a single module's offsets will never exceed 32,767,
Right.
where a merged module file will. Okay?
Right.
So there's that difference, and Decode is not going to account for that. I'm keeping it the way it is.
Okay.
But there's also the fact that getting the module header, opening the file, and doing various file-related tasks have now been delegated to Unpack.
Right.
So Decode only has to do the decoding.
So,
So because the original Decode has all that code still in it, it would be a problem.
right.
Yeah. So I'm just making it different. I intended this from the beginning to make it different so that the Decode in Unpack would not be identical to the Decode by itself.
Right. So you're going to
So
they're
that's
going to be live on as independent projects in the EOU eventually. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Unpack will be separate from Decode. Now, Curtis may choose to remove Decode once Unpack works.
Right. Because
Which
it'll
would
have
be
all the same
fine
functionality
because-
essentially.
It basically, yeah, it just won't have all the displays, and it won't be using the color stuff that Decode used for for display output,
Okay.
and a bunch of other things that Decode does that Unpack won't do.
Right.
Okay. But as far as the actual functionality of what it does with the iCode module, it will be the same.
Hmm.
So since that'll be the case, he may choose to remove Decode in favor of Unpack, but that's still a ways off because I have to get Unpack working.
Right.
So, but as far as for the purposes of this video, as far as the issue that I was having with Decode is that when it got to the part where it printed the dimension statements to the output file,
Mm-hmm.
it would do it mostly correctly, but not quite.
Right.
There would always be some issue. Either the last dimension statement, whether it was a dim or a param, wouldn't get printed. Some of the type statements and type variables wouldn't get assigned correctly. And so I wanted to see if I could use ChatGPT to help me figure out what was going wrong, because there's so much code involved there that I couldn't figure it out. So I was trying to get ChatGPT to help me figure it out, but I ran into problems getting it to understand what I wanted.
Right. Yeah. So before we dig into that, you were saying that you did watch my best practices video. Was there much?
Yes, I did.
Anything there that was helpful to you at all?
Oh, there was a lot there that was helpful. First
Okay.
of all, I did not know that you could actually select what type of output you wanted from it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a new to me thing. And then there was the instructions themselves that you provide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I find those very fascinating, but yours are so generic. You can, like you said in the video, you can use them for virtually any topic.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Well, I want mine to be specific to Basic09 coding and nothing else.
Right. Yeah.
So my instructions would probably end up having to be a bit different.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I was mostly just kind of showing the as far as workflow goes for me for ChatGPT. I've found that the stuff that I've added to those sort of that personalization section of the instructions. The one like I highlighted in particular was that suggest the next prompt and put it in like a code box so I can just copy and paste it. Like that's.
Yeah, that's definitely a plus. I definitely want that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. It makes a huge difference because one, it kind of helps indicate where the model's thinking, and sometimes it comes up with a really good suggestion that I hadn't thought about. And even if it is something that I think about, I don't have to figure out how to craft it. It just gives me a copy. I can just copy and paste it right into the prompt, and it works great. So yeah.
Yeah.
But
so that's something I'm interested in. Now, when I was messing around with ChatGPT, I didn't do it the way you're doing it,
right,
where you've got this file that has this list of do's and don'ts. Okay? I just basically said, okay, I want you to read my structure of iCode page so you can understand iCode.
Right.
Okay? Then I want you to help me work on the source code. Okay. And it tried. I'll give it credit for trying. But you remember when you said when you first started with it that it kept trying to use other versions of Basic?
Yes, yeah.
Right. Well, I ran into that problem too. It kept trying to use what looked to me like GBasic.
Yeah. Certainly, it definitely seems to have a lot, and that's probably just due to the fact that all these models have been trained on the sort of the fire hose that is the internet, and so it's going on to like Stack Overflow and going on to Reddit and all these places where there's tons of source code of all sorts of different languages, and obviously by far the most popular ones would be the ones that it would be defaulting to. So yeah, especially with Basic, it's a difficult one.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that Basic09 is kind of a unique variant of the language.
Oh yeah. It's got some real idiosyncrasies that are not common amongst basic languages in general. Even the basics from the 70s and 80s, in the early days. It's
if you go back to the versions of Basic that were common in the retro computers back in the late 70s and 80s.
Well, Microsoft Basic.
For all of their differences, they have a lot in common.
Mostly because they were all written by Bill Gates.
Pretty much, yeah.
Almost every Basic that was written there, and the ones that weren't were basically a copy of his.
They were based on Microsoft Basic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So but because of that commonality, it's not difficult to change from one to another. You can take the source code to one, and if you know the one you're going from and the one you're going to, you can go through it and change what needs to be changed to make it compatible with the platform you're trying to get it to run on.
Oh yeah, and the books that were published in those days too that were multi-platform, like I had a number of those and got some from the library, and they would have, here's what you have to change for the Commodore 64, here's what you have to change for the Apple II, here's what you change for the Coco. Yeah.
So, but with Basic09, it is so different that it's not that simple.
No.
For example, in regular Basics, the colon is the statement concatenator that allows you to stack multiple statements on one line.
Right.
In Basic09, it's a backslash character.
Right, yeah.
And in regular Basics, you have to have a line number on every line. In Basic09, you don't.
Yeah.
So there's, and those are just the off the top of my head, easy to remember differences.
Yeah. Well, and because Basic09 was essentially like a more modern refinement of those original Basics, so was Microsoft Visual Basic and even GW Basic before that to some degree.
But you have to remember Basic09 was written in 1977.
Oh right, yeah. So it's not that much newer than because the original Basic was it 70s? It was very early 70s, maybe even
it was
late
in the
60s.
70s. Bill Gates wrote the first microcomputer Basic in, I think it was 1975.
Yeah.
It might have been 74, but I think it was 75.
Was that for the Altair?
I don't remember what platform it was.
It was before the 77 Trinity, for sure.
Oh yeah, it was before the Apple II came out. It's before the IBM PC came out.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was late
I
too.
think if I remember, he wrote it for CPM.
Yeah, probably. Well, because CPM was kind of the operating system of choice
Of the time,
especially if you were trying to use a computer for business purposes.
Yeah.
And it lasted through to the early 80s when IBM came and kind of blew it away.
Yeah, well, Bill Gates kind of took it all over. Yeah, I mean, he based MS-DOS on CPM, and he added directory structure to it.
Yeah.
And so I got to credit the guy for doing a lot to further the cause of microcomputers. Okay? But sometimes I think they got too big for their britches.
Oh yeah. Well, it was once they became the monopoly. That's when he started to make decisions that weren't the best for the technology or for the user, but were the best for Microsoft, and that's where things get into trouble.
The thing about Basic 09 though is that it was written to work with the Motorola 6809 processor.
Mm-hmm.
It was something Motorola had a deal with Microware to develop a basic language. Originally, it was supposed to be the same thing that you got when you got a IBM PC or some other PC,
right?
Where BASIC was built in, and when you turned on the computer, BASIC is what you saw,
right?
That's what it was originally supposed to be. The BASIC that you saw when you turned on a 6809 computer.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the way, Microware started developing OS9, and they decided to make Basic 09 the primary programming language for OS9.
Right.
The problem is they did not assume beginner. Right. They assumed that anybody programming a 6809 computer running OS9 would already know a lot of stuff.
Right.
So, and that was one of the drawbacks, because even if they were aware of other things, learning Basic 09 wasn't going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, the system did not boot up to a Basic 09 prompt. It booted up to an OS9 prompt.
Yeah.
And you had to run Basic 09. So there was a lot of differences there, and in the end, they just decided to let it be different. Okay?
Yeah.
But it worked good. I mean, I love Basic 09. I've never gotten over this language.
Mm-hmm.
It will always be my favorite programming language, period.
Right.
So, but...
so what was the original platform that OS9 was written for?
It wasn't written, believe it or not, it was not written for the color computer.
No. But how many? I'm not sure of how many other 6809 systems there were.
Yeah, I don't know how many there are. I do remember there was one called the Gimmicks.
Okay.
And there was a couple of others that I can't remember the names of. Okay. But they didn't, when Tandy adapted OS9 to the color computer,
mm-hmm.
they made changes. Okay. The GFX and GFX2 modules.
Yeah.
Don't exist on the other platforms.
No,
they didn't do code. Okay?
Well, it was much more similar to CPM before GFX and GFX2.
Well, no, it was a multi-directory structure.
But I mean, as a user interface, it was much more sort of terminal based. It wasn't meant as much as you were editing a screen. It was, and that's what CPM was. It was very much more terminal kind of.
Well, and the guys at Microware actually called it a Unix-like operating system.
Oh, and it very much is.
Right. It was like a command line interface.
Yeah, it's a Unixy. It's a very POSIX-like operating system mm-hmm. for the home computer, long before Unix mm-hmm. ever made it, big on the home computer scene.
Long before Linux came along.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the 90s. You got to get to the mid-90s for that. I remember doing my first Red Hat install back when I was in college in 96.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so Basic 09 is just different in so many ways, but it's also more powerful in so many ways.
Yeah.
Another thing that's different is, do you remember spaghetti code?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember why it was called that?
Actually, I don't know if I know the origin of the term spaghetti code. It's
Okay.
such an ingrained part of why was
Okay.
it?
Well, I can tell you why it's called that.
Okay.
Basic had the one drawback that you could not protect the source code.
Right.
So anybody that got your program got your source code.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Okay? People wanted to try to protect their source code. The colon allowed them to do things to make it harder to figure out what the real source code did.
Right.
So they would stack a bunch of unnecessary commands like go subs and go tos and unnecessary expressions
Mm-hmm.
on every single line in the program.
Right.
Okay? Because it would only operate up to a point and then it would jump to something else and the rest of that line would be ignored.
Right. 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 Yeah. So
Right.
you're making the code source as cryptic as possible so that people can't sort of reverse engineer what's going on very easily, even if they have access.
Well,
to
they would have to really work hard to figure out
Yeah. Yeah.
what the real code was.
That reminds me of I don't know if you're familiar with Perl. It was a scripting language
I'm
that was
familiar.
popular in the 90s and early 2000s, and there were competitions to how cryptic can you make your one line of Perl code. You know?
Yeah. Well, and I never involved myself with Perl. I know about it, but I never really got into it.
Yeah.
It's the same these days with what is it called? The language of choice these days.
Oh, which one? JavaScript or
No,
Python?
that's old.
Uh,
Python.
Yeah.
Okay?
Python's a big
I
one.
know about Python. I can read Python to some degree,
Yeah.
but I have never tried to program it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean it's very much kind of the successor to Basic, and Pascal was one that I definitely got into in university.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing about Basic09. It is heavily influenced by Pascal.
Hmm.
The colon equals assignment operator came from Pascal.
Right. Right.
And the guys at Microware even said that it was designed after Pascal.
Hmm.
Now, it's a basic, but it was designed, they used Pascal as a test model, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but I like the way it works, and I really enjoy writing code in Basic09.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Decom
definitely
was my first big program,
yeah.
and I didn't know anything. I barely knew how to write the code.
Yeah. So you
And I
kind of
did a
you
lot
taught
of-
yourself as you were writing it, essentially.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why when I came back to it in the early 2000s, I couldn't read it.
Right. Right. Because you made simple, rookie mistakes when you started, but that you wouldn't make now. Kind
Well,
of.
and I did things in such a haphazard way. For example, after then, I'd gotten away from the color computer in the mid 90s, got onto a Macintosh, and then in the early 2000s got into PCs. So when I came back to it, I had to use emulators because I didn't have my Coco 3 anymore.
Right.
So, but I had learned a lot in the interim time because I never really left it alone.
Hmm.
I would keep studying the manual and looking at other people's source code when I had a chance. And I learned a lot of things. Like, first of all, in Decom, I was using a 512 byte array to hold the contents of what turned out to be two different tables.
Right.
Okay. And those tables could actually end up being greater than 512K. I mean,
Right.
not K, 512 bytes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So in Decode, since I had learned that, instead of using an array to hold it all, I just read it directly from the disk and go to wherever that particular table is.
Right.
And the first one isn't really, it's a table of sorts, but not exactly. Tables are usually pretty uniform in what data they have.
Hmm.
The description area is basically the shape data for complex variables like arrays or records or strings.
Right.
Whereas the symbol table is a list of 3-byte entries that represent various variables. Okay? So the symbol table is more of a table.
Right.
The description area isn't really a table, but I call it that for lack of a better word.
Right.
Okay? So, but now that I know the difference between them and what they contain, I can read each one directly off the disk as I need to, instead of copying it into an array and trying to figure out where the midpoint is.
So when the decomp process is running, then, right? So you've got your iCode. That's the right term, right? You're decomping an iCode.
Yeah, it's called an iCode module, and it's divided into the module header, what is called the iCode area, which is where all the instructions are.
Right.
Then the description area, then the symbol table, and then the CRC.
So when you're doing the decomp process, are you, because I'm assuming that, so are you writing all of the information that you're pulling out of the iCode to file? Like how do you juggle both of those pieces of having the module in memory and the work that you're doing to decomp?
Well, I don't have the module in memory.
Oh, you don't?
I'm
Okay.
reading it from the disk.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
I'm doing things in memory, but I don't have any of it fully loaded into memory. There's four data files that I create in the data directory.
Right.
One is called initdb, which is initialize the database.
Right.
Second one is called proc data, which is various data pulled from the procedure.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have the var defs file, which is the variable records, and the line defs file, which is the line number records.
Okay.
Okay? So those are the only 4 files I need.
And you just build up those files as you iterate through
7 different files.
Sorry, so you basically build up the contents of those files as you're iterating through the source code of the iCode module?
Well, sort of. I mean, the files are already predefined in what size they are.
Right.
For example, the line references record file holds up to 300 line references.
Right.
The variable references file holds up to 400 references. And then the initdb and proc data files just have various other data. But it's all, I've got it predefined from the beginning. Of course, when you're starting out fresh, brand new, everything is zeros.
Right, yeah.
Okay? But as it reads the module that it's decoding, it populates all those things. When it gets done, it saves the data back to those files.
Right. So are those,
because it knows exactly where that data goes.
And those files are set at a size that you'll never exceed no matter what module, or is there an error possibility?
Yeah, they won't change.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that'll be different there is if, because for example, the procedure I've been using for testing is called Connect.
Right.
It's part of an old version of the RIBBS system. It has 220 total program variables.
Okay.
And the unique variable references is 325.
Right.
Okay. So 400 is enough to cover it.
Right.
I haven't run into a procedure that has more than 400.
Right.
If I ever run into one, then I'm going to have to redefine the file so that the variable definitions file will have more than 400 entries.
Right.
Okay. So I haven't run into that yet, so I'm figuring 400 is a good deal.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. Hey, until you do run into an issue, it's a good, if you've got it big enough that it does work with a complex source, then yeah, good.
Yeah. So the thing of it is the number of fields. The variable definition record is broken, and the same with the line records, is broken into 2 parts. Proc data contains the array that's kept in memory for both variables and line references. and then the variable definitions file and the line definitions files holds the complete records.
Right.
Right. So, or well, not the complete records, everything that's not in the arrays. Okay. The program takes the two and works with them together to produce the correct output.
Right.
So that's the way that works. So, but proc data also includes some other variables that are needed that are not being passed as a parameter. And then initdb is basically just initializing things at the start.
Right.
So, and that data never changes.
So where are you now as far as the progress of this project? So do you want to get into some of the details of it now?
I thought I was almost back to having Unpack running completely.
Okay.
Until today, when I figured out that the variable data is apparently not being written correctly, and I got to figure out why.
Oh, okay.
So, but otherwise, I mean, I've got it running where it goes. Okay, there are 4 modules. There is decode, var defs, def vars, build source or build src, and instruction.
Right.
I haven't got instruction in there yet because I only just got done getting build source to run correct. To appear to run correctly. So it runs through all of those without crashing.
Right.
Okay. So I've got it done that far, but the variable record information being wrong is ending up giving me bad output. So I've got to get that fixed before I go to instruction.
Do you know how it's wrong?
I can see, I'm looking at the screen now for the output as it was decoding it.
Do you want to share your screen so I can see what you're looking at?
Sure. Sure. Hold on a second. Let me come over here and do that. Okay. Sure. There. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. I keep this window at its default size just because it gets a little blurry for me when I put it to full screen. Would you rather me make it larger so you can see it better?
No. I've got it full screen on mine, so I can see it fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, okay, look at the last one. It says 321. Okay. The 00 means that's part of the next statement.
Okay.
0AF3 is the correct offset.
Right.
Okay. But you notice the 0000 30, 31, 20, 49, 4E, all of that is all incorrect.
Right.
Okay. Everything all the way over to the 002 or 0002.
Right.
Is all incorrect. Everything past that is not necessarily correct, not necessarily incorrect. I've got a file that has the correct information. So what I have to do is look at it and see what it says. So 321. Okay, yeah, okay, so it's wrong. That 00 at the beginning is supposed to be an F2. And the number next to it is supposed to be 00DE. So obviously it's made mistakes from the get-go. So I have to figure out where the mistakes came in and why.
So we're looking here at, is each one of those sections between the 5 dashes representative one line of code? What is it that we're looking at here?
If you look at the 321, go all the way down to the line that has the 5 dashes.
Yep.
That's all one line.
That's one line. Okay.
Yeah. So the last 5 dashes is if it's a string variable. When you dimension a string statement, it has a square bracket, number, square bracket.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's what would go there if it was a string variable.
So why is from the fourth number, from the 000 all the way over to 2053, that's identical to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines above, from 316 down to 321?
Yeah, it's not supposed to be.
Okay.
Here, let me share a different screen so you can see what it's supposed to look like.
Sure.
There.
Okay, so 321. Okay, so it's not just the one line that's wrong. You've got several lines that aren't.
Yeah, several lines are wrong.
Hmm.
And I have to figure out where it went wrong, how it went wrong, and why it went wrong.
Right. And I suppose you don't have a debug mode or anything that's more verbose in as far as like.
I wish I could use the debug function in Basic09.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the program is too large to load everything into Basic09 and run it from there.
Right.
So I have to pack it all, and because they're all separate, Unpack is one file, Decode is another file, Defvars is another file, build source is another file.
Right.
Okay? So you can't just load them all into Basic09 and run them.
Right.
Because it's too big. So I cannot use the built-in debugger. So what I have to do, and I've been doing this since Decom because I had the same problem with it.
Right.
I have to go in and put print statements where I want it to show me what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and then pack it and then run it and see what it shows me.
Right.
And usually I can figure out what's going wrong from what it shows me.
Hmm.
But again, I just discovered this morning when I was trying to figure out getting a build source to work correctly. I finally got it to where it worked without crashing, but it kept giving me problems on the outputs on the things that I wanted it to show me in verbose mode.
Right.
So I went and I started looking closer at it. I had a routine I wrote for Decode called readvars that would read the variable definition file in the data directory.
Yeah.
So I took a copy of it and modified it to work with the Unpack, so it would go to the Unpack directory.
Right.
And I started looking at the variable records, and I noticed that nothing was right. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what clued me in that the problem was with the variables file. So, but because I only just discovered that this morning, I haven't really had enough time to figure it out and fix it. But that's something I don't need ChatGPT for. I can figure this part out on my own.
Yeah, yeah.
What I'm having trouble with, and I'll even show you what it is that
Sure.
I'm having trouble with. Hold on a second.
Is this TextPad we're looking at here?
Yeah. This is Basic09 source code in TextPad using a syntax file to give color.
Okay.
Okay. So are you seeing the source code now?
Yep, I am. Yeah.
Okay. Let me come down here. Okay, it's down here. I'm just going to scroll from the beginning of it to the end of it. Right here where it says output to screen. Right? That's basically the beginning of creating the dimension statements. Okay. I've got this much code for creating type statements, dim statements, and param statements.
Right.
And I know it doesn't need to be that complex.
Right, right.
But it is. Okay? Because that was what I had to do to get it working to begin with.
Right.
So you see, it's a lot of code.
Yeah, yeah.
And I could make it a lot smaller if I could just wrap my head around it enough to get it figured out so that it does it right. But it works this way, except that it doesn't work absolutely correct.
Right.
Again, I get, for example, a dimension statement that says colon string,
Mm-hmm.
okay, instead of a variable name.
Right.
You know, and then the last dimension statement in the whole thing, and mostly it's param statements, because the way Basic09 does things, the parameter statements are at the end of data memory. So you've got the first 22 bytes that's reserved by run B. Then you have your program variables. Following the program variables is the named subroutines list. And then following that is the parameters list. So because of that, when Decode is doing its thing, it puts everything in that order. So the parameter statements always end up being last, regardless of where you put them in your source code.
Right.
But it's the same thing with dimension statements, period. You know, Basic09 allows you to put dimension statements anywhere in the program.
Right.
Right? Well, Decode doesn't know where you put them because that information is not in the module.
Right.
So all of the dimension statements get put at the top.
Right.
So, and it does them in the order of type statements, then dim statements, then param statements.
And that's what Basic09 does basically as part of the packing process?
Yeah, that's what it does when it comes to where in data memory that particular thing is going to be found.
Right.
And on the parameters, this is another thing about the parameters. You can have a three-dimensional array that's a parameter,
mm-hmm.
but where that parameter occurs in data memory for the procedure that was called is only 4 bytes. And it's because that 4 bytes is basically a pointer
mm-hmm.
to where in memory that particular array occurs outside of the procedure that's looking at it.
Well, that's interesting that Basic09 does have pointers internally then.
Yeah, it has internal pointers. It doesn't have well, you can sort of specify a pointer. That's what I do in Decom and Decode.
Right.
I just use a variable. If it's only one module, it's an integer. If it's merged modules, it's a real.
Right.
But it's basically the offset value of where that particular thing occurs.
How do you figure out what that offset is, though?
I have to, when I'm decoding the module, I am counting where I'm at as it's decoding.
Right.
If it's an offset address I need to remember, it gets stored.
So do you have to do multiple passes of the module to sort of pull out first what are all the variables and their sizes, and then...
Well, that's the fun part. I only have to go through the instruction code twice.
Okay.
First, when I'm going through it the first time to determine variable references in the I-code area and line references in the I-code area. And the second time when I'm actually printing the instruction statements.
Right.
Okay, that's the only 2 times I have to actually read the I-code area. DefVars takes what was produced in the decode of the I-code area and then goes through the symbol table and the description area to finish filling in the information for the various variables.
Right, because you've essentially got 2 lookup tables now for variables and lines.
Yeah.
After
So
the first pass.
once DefVars is done, variables should be complete. Okay. Now, what build source does initially is it's going through because of a problem with the way, it's not a problem for Basic09, it's a problem for us. The way that record structures are stored in the description area, it is not easy to figure out what record is what. As long as they're all different, it's fine. But I use this as an example. Take your registers packet. It has 4 bytes followed by 3 integers.
Right.
Okay. Well, what if you had another one in there that was the same size, 10 bytes, but it was integer byte, or no, byte integer, byte integer, byte integer, byte.
Right.
Okay. There's no way to tell the difference. It's the same number of fields. They're just in a different order, and it's the same size.
But
And
that
the
would,
only thing you get in the description area for the variable itself is its offset location and data memory and its size. I don't know how Basic09 connects the dots other than what occurs in the I code. Because in the I code, what you have is, for a record variable, is variable dot field variable. That's
right.
what you type in your source code. Like
Yeah,
if you look on the screen there, line 577,
yeah,
tname equals var frec dot vp2 dot vname.
right,
Right? Well, that shows up in the I code as tname being a string variable, be 84 followed by the equals, which in this case is 52, followed by whatever the token for var frec would be,
right,
whatever the token for var vp2 would be, followed by the token for v string length,
right,
right? And then each of those three tokens, or each of those four tokens, has an integer value following the token. That integer value is where to look. So for strlen, you would be looking at the description area because all strings point to the description area.
So they're all essentially, so the number for var frec would be the offset from the beginning of the area of the memory space, and then
No.
VP2 number, the number for that one would be the offset from where you found var frec, and then the string
No,
length would be
that's where records get different. Okay, tname is going to point to the description area. Okay? Now there's also times when a string will point to the symbol table, but I'm not going to talk about that right now.
right. Okay.
So tstrlen is going to point to the description area,
Right.
and from there you find out where in data memory it occurs and what its size is.
Right.
Okay. Then var frec is going to point to the symbol table.
Right. Okay.
In the symbol table, it's going to have a different token that is the actual variable type token for that variable,
Right.
but it falls in the different ranges. If it's a regular variable, it's 60 through 7F. If it's a parameter variable, it's 80 through 9F.
Right.
If it's a field variable, it's 40 through 5F. Right? So the first one, var frec, would be in the 60 to 7F range.
Right.
VP2 would be in the 40 to it would be 45.
Right.
Okay. Then VSTRlen would be 44.
Right.
And the offsets, these point to the VDT, all three of them. They or the symbol table. Okay. From the symbol table, var frec points to the description area for where that variable occurs. And in the description area, you get where in the data memory it occurs and its size.
Right.
That's all you get. Okay? VP2 will be a pointer to where within the range of the size of var frec VP2 occurs.
Right.
And then VSTRlen is where within the range of VP2 to the end of that part of the variable record where VSTRlen occurs.
Right.
And its size. Okay?
Yep.
So it's involved. I can describe it, but even I have trouble describing it.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense because you're essentially for var frec itself would have reserved enough space to hold all of the fields and subfields within that one. Yeah, and then and then it's just organized by subfield and then field and then subfield, and so on. If you had multiple, if you went even further into the nesting.
And if it was all one record without all the sections, it would just be var frec dot vname.
Right.
Right. So, but I came up with these kinds of names because I got tired of complex.complex.
Yeah.
Which is what I did in Decom, which made it so hard to read. I couldn't figure out what I was doing in it.
Right.
So, but anyway, that's the problem with type statements, is because basically the data for the type statement is separate from the variable assigned to it.
Right.
And because it's separate, you have to figure out what parts of the description area contain that data. So there's a validation routine. And what it does is it starts at the beginning of the description area, and it goes through the variable records. And if there's a place that doesn't occur in the variable record, okay, then it says, okay, this must be an undefined or or invalid place. So it goes through and figures out how many bytes occur in that location before it reaches a valid entry.
So the type definition, so that's stored in a separate memory space than the place where the actual variables that are of that type are defined. Is that what I'm understanding?
Something like that. I'm going to open another file. I want to show you this. This is the output of, this is what the output of the validation should look like for this particular procedure. You notice this first one from 0000 to 001E is unidentified. Okay, so well, that's a type statement.
Okay.
Each one of these ones that says unidentified is a type statement.
Okay.
Okay, and it's not easy to figure out what it all means, but I can do it.
Right.
I'll go ahead and I'll do this one. I used to think, right there, I used to think that, well, I didn't know what it was because it wasn't identified. There was no way for me to figure out what it was.
Right.
Okay. And then after that, there's a byte and then a bunch of integers.
Right.
Well, those are all the fields.
Okay. And those are offsets?
Yeah, no, I don't know what they are. I have yet to figure out exactly what these do. Okay, that's another type statement. Okay, so yeah. Okay.
And how did you know that that's another type statement?
Because this value is greater than that value.
Oh, okay.
The one thing I learned.
I see. So these are sort of offsets then, because they're.
But they're not offsets. They do not point to anything.
Right.
All they are is and I found out when I was able to finally look at unpacked iCode, these are separate. Okay. Oops, went too far. That is what it should be.
Right.
Now, why this is 0A and this is B5, I don't know. In unpacked source code, they would both be zeros.
Right.
And this would be the first byte of the first field.
Okay.
So I'm trying to, I don't remember how this worked out. Anyway, but there's a clue of how a type statement data looks. Okay.
Right.
I have yet to figure out exactly what these mean, but I do know that in every single type statement that occurs, these values keep increasing. So that's why I'm trying to figure this out. What the heck is going on? Oh. Yeah, that's what it is.
Right, okay. Yeah, I see some pattern now. Yeah, because that's a different number. Okay, yeah. Interesting.
You notice how this number is greater than that number. And this number is greater than that number. And it does that all the way through for every single type statement, regardless of where it occurs. So the very last field identifier is what I'm calling it, of the very last type statement is going to be the greatest number. Okay? But it only applies in the type statements. It is not affected in any of these other fields. All the ones that stay validated. Okay? So that's basically the deal there. Now, again, in unpacked code, these are all zeros. These are all, oh no, these are not necessarily zeros, but these are all zero.
Right.
And I don't know why they get changed when you pack it. I'm still trying to learn that part, but I don't think ChatGPT can figure that part out for me. You,
No,
that's
but
something that Curtis or somebody else that understands object code better than I do
right.
can look at the Basic09 source code and figure out what's going on.
Oh, there is source code for the Basic 09?
Yeah, but it's not the original code.
Oh, it's like reverse engineered?
Yeah, they had to.
Right.
The original sources for OS9 level 1 and level 2 were never released.
Right.
In the early 90s, when I was working on Decom,
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to contact Motorola, and I spoke to Boise Petrie.
Hmm.
And he sent me the header file to Basic09.
Okay.
Okay. From that header file, I was able to identify a lot of things.
So it was written in C, was it?
No, it was written in assembly.
Oh, in assembly. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But the header file was a separate file.
Okay.
So, but he sent me that file. And he told me then that all of the OS9 level 1 and level 2 stuff was stored on a hard drive.
Right.
A few years later, we find out that the hard drive got used for target practice.
Ugh.
All the data was destroyed.
Right.
If I had known that's what they were going to do with it, I would have begged him to give me everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Well, I mean, once it lost its economic value, I can understand that. It's just unfortunate for people that we're now essentially preservationists of of a long dead.
Well, that's the thing.
Right.
Back in those days, people weren't concerned about preservation.
No.
I mean, that really wasn't that long ago. That was the 90s.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. So, they weren't thinking about preservation. But it just happened that I held on to that header file all the way through. And when I came back into the community in the 2000s, I think it was 2008 when I first came back, I still had it. I ended up giving a copy of it to Curtis because he's the one that's been doing the reverse engineering. And he was so thankful to get that header file. It helped him a lot.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, it gives you a starting place. Otherwise, you're looking at, everything's in binary or hex.
Yeah, well, and you're going with what disasm shows you. And if you don't know where all the entry points are, you're not getting a correct disassembly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know that much about assembly, but I know that much.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, the only assembly I ever did was the Motorola 68000. I did a little bit of Intel, like early, back in the, I think, 46 days. But mostly, I much enjoyed, I am kind of curious to get into assembly for the 6809, just because I recall the 68000, because I did assembly on a VAX, which had a 68000, and I loved Motorola assembly. I do wonder if it's similar feel for the predecessor, the 6809, but it just made a lot more sense.
I know that the only thing I know for sure is that when OS9 Level 2 came out, they replaced ASM with RMA.
Right.
And I know it's supposed to be a more advanced assembler, but I don't know anything about assembly. I can barely read the code.
Right, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things you got to kind of really get in real deep, and eventually it starts to, it's like the Matrix. You start seeing, you
finally start seeing the lines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Once you get expert at it, yeah, for sure, you can start reading it like you're reading English, but yeah, until you get to that point, it's really cryptic for sure.
But that's why I never learned it, because I'm doing good to know as much as I know about Basic09.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If I start trying to learn assembly, I'm going to forget everything I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't want to forget everything I know. So anyway, so getting back to ChatGPT, since that's what this was supposed to be for.
Yeah.
My initial thing was I just told it to read that web page so it could know more about iCode. And then I told it the problem I was having. I showed it a section of the code, the part that I showed you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I showed it that part and I said, can you help me figure out what's going wrong here? And it was having all kinds of problems trying to figure out what it was reading. Okay, because it didn't really understand Basic09. It kept trying to use GBasic.
What's the page you were sending it to?
It's my structure of iCode page. You want me to?
Yeah, if you could put it in the chat
I
or
can
something.
pop it up here.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd like to I'd like to look at that page myself.
There.
I don't see it. I think you're still just sharing your text.
Oh, I probably have to change the stream. Hold on. Okay, there we go.
Is NeoCities a modern replacement for GeoCities?
Something like that. The thing I like the most about it is it's static.
Yes.
I don't have to worry about dynamic pages and ads popping in and out and changing the size and all that crap.
Oh, hang on. NeoCities.
And it's free to use, but if you pay them $5 a month, you get a bunch of extra features.
Hang on. Oh, I missed an E in your name. There we go. Okay, yeah, I got it. I will bookmark that because I'll take a look.
I refer anybody that's looking at Basic09, I refer them to this page because this is the most in-depth I got with iCode.
Right.
And the part that's probably going to be the most looked at is this one, because that's the full list of tokens.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, all the way down. And you'll notice that there are a lot of tokens that are used more than once.
Right.
It just depends on where they're being used and what they're for. So. But yeah, I find it invaluable when I'm having trouble remembering something. I can go look.
Yeah.
So.
Is your source for this available online, or is this just something you've got on your personal computer?
Source? You mean the original file, or
for your Depack and the stuff that you're running and trying to get working?
Oh, the source code's all on my computer.
It's on your computer.
Yeah. Again, nobody else has been helping me with it, so I haven't really thought about putting it on GitHub.
Is that something you'd be willing to share so I could try and kick the tires on it myself and just kind of see how it runs? It would be, because it certainly helped me kind of understand the problem if I could actually try and run the code.
Yeah, I can do that, but I'm going to have to put some instructions there because it's not like you just compile the code and run it.
Right. Yeah.
There's a procedure called create UDB. Okay. You use that to create the data files.
Okay.
Most computers, most OS9 computers don't have a data directory at the root level.
Right. So you have to create one.
So you have to create one. I think, if I remember right, I made create UDB create it, but I'm not sure. So I just always, like when I changed it for Unpack, I manually created an Unpack directory inside the data directory. Okay, so, and the data directory does exist on the EOU distribution on the hard drive disk. Hard drive. The data directory is there because it's there for Decode.
Right.
So just go into it, create an Unpack directory, and then run create UDB, and it'll create the files in that directory. Then you can pack all of the other ones, but they all have to be packed separately.
Right.
Okay? Now, Decode, UDefVars, and UBuildSource do have sort routines with them, so you have to do a pack all.
Okay.
And then, but you pack them all separately, so you'll pack, unpack, or just pack, because unpack is the only procedure in the workspace at that point. Kill that after you pack it, then load udecode.bo9 and do a pack all to udecode, and then kill all that, and then vice versa, so on and so forth for the other ones. And then you'll have 4 separate files. Okay? And then you can run unpack, specify the file you want to decode, and there are 2 options. You can do it with no options, or -O or -V.
Okay.
No options is not verbose, and it creates an output file. -O suppresses the output file and shows verbose mode. -V creates the output file and displays verbose mode.
Right.
But you'll notice that with verbose mode off, there is still stuff being printed to the screen.
Right.
And the reason is because you could sit there, like with the connect procedure. If there was nothing being displayed, you'd be sitting there for 10 minutes.
Right.
Okay? And I always had the issue of, did it freeze? Did it get stuck in a loop somewhere?
Right.
How do I know it's still running? So I decided to include output to the screen so you would know it's working.
Yeah, even printing a like a period every so often, so you get a little dot.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
In the decode, in not verbose mode, it prints a period for every instruction.
Perfect. Yeah.
In verbose mode, it prints the I code of the instruction.
Right. Excellent. Yeah.
And there's 1,600 instructions in Connect.
Right.
So then it gives you some stats at the end of that, processes the line numbers, and then goes into DefVars. And DefVars starts printing out the records, but it goes by so fast, you have to do a Control-W and pause it if you really want to look at it.
Right.
And 325 entries is a lot. So, and then it goes through its sorts. On the sorts, it just prints a period. Okay, well, I got to do this 2 ways. For the line number sort, the variable sort, and then build source, the description area sort, basically, are all, they're based on Tex Ritter's Q sort from the original Level 1 manual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's one of those recursive sort routines.
Right.
Okay? So I based it on that so it would recurse. So each period is a recurse. In the field variable sort, I made that one a simple bubble sort.
Yep.
And because of that, it's sorting 80 field variables, but it takes almost a full screen of periods.
Yeah, bubble sorts.
So I'm working. Yeah, I'm working on seeing if I can convert that to a recursive sort. Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. I'll just, for me, Q sorts are easier.
Oh,
yeah. Or recursive sorts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just try to convert it to that. But I'm not going to do that until I've got the program working the way it did in Decode.
Right.
Okay. Once I get the same output I got with Decode, then I'll start working on fancying things up, and I'll start working on making sure that merged modules get decoded correctly, because I'm still not positive on that part yet.
Right.
So but I can do it. I just have to. I will probably, because I don't remember putting Decode up there. I remember putting Decom there.
Right.
I will probably go there and delete Decom and just upload the current Unpack.
Right.
and so that you'll have everything there. And then in the README, I'll put the instructions for how to set it up. And then you can play with it to your heart's content.
Okay.
So in the meantime, well, I'll do that before I do anything else. But while you're playing with it, I'll be working on figuring out what's wrong with the variable records.
Sure.
Yeah.
So where are you going to put it? Sorry.
I have a GitHub. Hold on a minute because I have to look and see exactly what the address is.
Okay.
Well, now that I'm looking in my GitHub desktop app, I'm remembering some things. I actually named it Unpack on the GitHub.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to share this window so you can see the address.
Okay.
I got to figure out which one it is. I think it's this one. No, it's not that one. Oh, man, come on. It says GitHub. Okay. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay, that's the GitHub.
Okay.
I mean, you see what's there already.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I looked at it, I have to look and see what's there.
Yeah, it looks like 2 years ago was the last time you updated it.
Oh, it has Decode there. Okay. So you'll see the setups B09
Yep.
does not occur in Unpack.
Okay.
All right? And there's a few other things that don't occur there, but the Decode PP is a pretty print version. You know,
Right.
when you do a listing in Basic09 and it puts the offset addresses and indents everything.
Mm-hmm.
The C one is the one that has comments in it because it was too big to load into Basic09 with all the comments. So I created another copy and stripped most of the comments out. And that's what Decode OS9 or Decode B09 is.
Okay.
So I'm going to delete everything that's in the GitHub and replace it with Unpack.
Okay, sounds good. I'll keep an eye out for it. And where's the module that you're testing? Where is that online?
Oh, no, that's not online. I can put a copy of that there too.
In it? Okay, yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, because of the fact that that was part of an older version of the RIBBS system.
Right.
And I separated that particular one out. And I also, what's going to be put there is a file called test. Because when I wrote Unpack, when I finally got around to writing that module, I wanted to test to make sure that it would handle merged module files correctly.
Right.
And I also needed to make it to where it would properly handle a module that's not ICode.
Right.
Because sometimes you have a merged module file that has some object code subroutines merged in with it.
What's object
When I
code?
originally, they are subroutine modules that were created with C or with assembly.
Oh, okay.
So they're object code. They're assembly code.
Okay.
Okay. So You can't decode those with Unpack because they're not iCode.
Yeah, of course.
So decom, I made the assumption that if a merged module file had anything like that, it would be at the bottom of the file. When I got RIBBS from Ron Beeler, I found out how wrong I was.
Okay.
So in Unpack, I needed to make sure that when it found a module that was not Basic09 iCode, that it would identify it as such and skip it.
Right. Is there something in the
So
header of the module that indicates that then, or
the header is different.
the header's different? Yeah.
It does not have all the optional header extensions that Basic09 modules have.
Right.
And Basic09 modules actually have a module name length byte just prior to the module name.
Right.
Object code modules do not have that. So I had to jump through a few hoops to figure out how to get the module name. And then Deke helped me understand that module names don't necessarily have to be where I thought they would be.
Oh.
So with his help, I was able to determine that. So now it doesn't matter where the module name is. If it's not an iCode module, I can find the module name and report that that module is not iCode and skip it.
Skip it. Okay. No, that's handy for sure.
So that's what it does, and that's what the test module is for. I have an object code module followed by connect, followed by an object code module.
Right.
So when it runs, if it runs correctly and doesn't crash, it'll show the first one is not iCode and skip it. Then it'll decode connect, and then it will report that the other one is not iCode and skip it. Okay, so I'm going to include that file for that reason, so that you can see that Unpack does skip modules that are not iCode.
Okay.
But it also helps because if you end up helping me test this thing enough, at some point I may do something that breaks it. Yeah. And you may be the first one to know.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Okay. So I think we're getting close to a good stopping point. Did we cover? Can you summarize what it was that you want ChatGPT or a large language model to be able to help you do?
Yeah, I don't think I actually got that far because we kept getting back
Yeah,
into the actual
we got into the actual details. Yeah, I'm learning all this stuff too. I think it's all really fascinating, and it'll make an interesting video, I think, in either case. But do you want to spend a little bit of time just kind of talking about what your ideas or what you'd like a model to help with?
Yeah, because I really want to figure this part out. I want ChatGPT to deal only with Basic09 iCode.
Yep.
And OS9, Basic09 source code. I want it to understand the difference in syntax with Basic09,
right,
so that it doesn't try to include other basics.
Yeah.
And I want it to be able to give me suggested changes to the source code, which comes back to your thing about putting it up in a box so I can just copy and paste. And then maybe I can paste it into that suggested code into the program and see what it does.
Right. So the one example I think you showed was you had that big long block of code that was looked like it was sort of if-anding based on the different thing that it was processing, and you wanted to look at streamlining that, right? Like that was an example of what you'd like it to do.
So streamlining it and figuring out why it wants to print the print statements incorrectly.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good.
That's the thing I want to work on first.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll look forward to you. Just let me know when you've updated your GitHub project there.
Okay.
And I'll do a little playing around on my side and see if I can, what sort of progress I can get. Because especially if it's up on a GitHub project, there are a couple of, now I don't know if ChatGPT has this functionality, but I do believe Claude, which is another large language model, you can actually point it to a GitHub project and have it make suggestions. So that might also be an interesting experiment to see if I get some different results doing it that way. So
that would be interesting. So and if you work on on this with ChatGPT, share with me what you're doing so I can do it too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Anything I find that's successful, I will share it with you immediately. So.
Okay. So that's basically what I'm trying to get done with ChatGPT first.
Yes.
But there is more. At some point, I do want it. Okay, this is my thinking. Because AI is software,
Mm-hmm.
if anything understands machine code, it's AI software because it is machine code.
Yeah.
And I do believe that it has the ability, if it's given the proper instructions,
Mm-hmm.
to go through a program module
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what it's doing.
Yeah.
Okay? So at some point, I would like to give it a copy of Basic09, have it go through the code and figure out where the part is that packs the code,
Mm-hmm.
so I can find out what it's doing that changes those two values I pointed out to you.
Right, right.
You know, so I can find out, well, A, what it's for, and B, can I do anything with it to improve Unpack?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on top of that, there is another thing that I didn't cover with you. Between the description area and the symbol table, there are 3 bytes.
Right.
The first 2 bytes are the total program variables count.
Mm-hmm.
And the third byte is always the value of 3,
Okay.
except in one case. Back when I was working on Decom in the early 90s, I had written some little utility, and when I ran Decom on it,
Yeah.
it showed that value being 4.
Oh.
So I manually decoded the module just to make sure it wasn't an error,
Yeah.
and it wasn't.
Hmm.
It was the only module I've ever seen that had the value 4 instead of 3.
Right.
I still don't know what that byte is for or what it means,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know why it would be different in one module compared to the hundreds of other modules I've looked at.
Yeah.
So I would like for it to help me figure that out.
Okay.
Because I keep asking, but Curtis is a busy guy. He's got his hands in so many pots, I don't think he's ever going to get anything finished.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he still hasn't finished going through Basic 09. He's got a good part of it done, enough that he was able to actually modify it and make 2 different versions. One that's 6809 specific and one that's 6309 specific.
Right.
But he still hasn't got to the part where the code gets packed.
Right.
And I don't even know where the part is that assigns that value of 3 to that byte. I did learn from the unpacked code that it's 3 when it's in Basic 09 before it's packed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why it sets it to that, or what it's for.
So,
and it's not necessary to unpack. Yeah, I can decode the module without knowing what it is.
mm-hmm.
But it's just, I want to understand everything about Basic 09 code, and if I don't understand that, I don't understand everything.
Yeah. Well, it would be nice to have a complete source of Basic 09, the application that could be. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing then that, so he's decompiled and sort of built source for different parts of the Basic 09 application, and then there's other parts that are just essentially still in the original version of what they were, like the pack module.
Well, from what I've seen of the listing,
mm-hmm.
he did a disasm to get a disassembly of the Basic 09 module.
Yeah.
And then he started going through it and working from the beginning of it just to figure out what was what.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, constantly having to go back and do another disassembly with a different entry point or something like that. He worked on it a lot.
Right.
And he finally reached a point where he had done enough that he could make it work.
Right.
He hasn't finished the rest of it. So there's portions of it that are still the original disassembly.
Right.
It works. It's not crashing the program, so it's not a problem.
But nobody really knows how it has ever really gone in depth into reading it and documenting it and commenting and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a black box still, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So because he can't answer the questions that I have, those 2 bytes in the description area on type statements and the value of 3 on that 1 byte. Since he can't figure that out yet because he's too busy with other things, I'm left not knowing. So I figured if ChatGPT could help me figure that out, then I wouldn't have to wait for him because I might be dead before he gets to it.
Yeah, yeah. Is that disassembly available online, or is it still like it's part of the EOU that's kind of...
I know the source code is somewhere. It's been so long since I looked at it, I can't remember where, but I can probably find it again. I can always ask him.
Yeah, if you could, I'd like to know. I wouldn't mind taking a look at it myself again, just for my own curiosity, and maybe there's something
I can ask him where it is if I can't find.
Sure.
I should be able to find it, but if I can't, I can ask him again, and he'll tell me where it is, and I can get the address, and then I can give you the address, and you can go look at it.
Cool. Yeah, because like I said, I do have some very rusty history on assembly, and if I have something that I can actually look at, it might actually be helpful for my own education, and I might be able to figure something out. But
yeah, see, for me, the problem with assembly is it is so low level.
Oh, well, you have to think like the machine. There's no translation. Well, there's hardly any translation, essentially. You are getting down to...
But not only that, there's a fixed number of instructions. And when I'm going through the listing, looking at it, to me, it just looks like the same instructions repeated over and over and over.
Well, which it is, in a lot of ways. You're right. It is. That's the advantage of a higher level programming language, in that it abstracts all that away, and you can deal with it in something that's much closer to human thinking. But yeah, no, it's a beast. There's a reason why people are still paid well to do assembly, although the demand for it is far less than it used to be. But yeah, it's
high level languages have taken over.
Oh yeah.
Low level languages are just for when you have to get down to the machine level to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, or when speed is more important than anything else. When speed's more important than readability, that's basically where assembly comes into place. But that's mostly in real time.
And that was very true on the retro systems, but on modern computers, I don't think it's that big a deal. For example, on my laptop, I've got the time showing the seconds.
Yeah.
They still include a notice with it that says that displaying the seconds will slow your computer down.
Yeah.
You know what? I cannot detect the difference.
Oh yeah. Okay. It's only when you're dealing with things like drivers, right? When you're talking to bare metal stuff, that's the only time. And even that nowadays, like Linux was a good example. I think everything in Linux is now written in C. I don't know if there's any assembly for the operating system anymore. Yeah, because it's all, even the stuff that's talking, because the the compilation of C is almost as efficient as assembly, and at the machine, and the hardware is so more powerful that it doesn't really matter anymore. But I'm sure there are still niche areas of the industry, though, that there are still assembly programmers, but they're far fewer than when I started.
But most of the assembly programmers I know are right here on Discord.
Yep. Yeah, and most of them are probably retired. Certainly, like I said, when I was in university, there definitely was a stream of people that would go in, and they'd be an assembly programmer, mostly in video games. Again, because performance mattered. So the root, the core, the important stuff of a video game would be written in assembly, and then the user interface and all that sort of stuff could be built up in C or something like that. But yeah. All right, well, I think that's a good place to stop. Thanks for all the info dump. It was really informative, and I think it was an interesting conversation. I'll cut this together and put it up on YouTube and share it, because I think it would be...
Well, and you can edit it as much as you want. We've been at it for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I think this is for people who are kind of interested. We're all, if we're into the Cocoa hobby, we're all kind of interested, especially if you're a developer. I think this could be an interesting conversation for people.
Well,
but digging deeper into the stuff. But like I said, I think the Cocoa community will be interested in watching a good bit of this anyway, especially those that are Basic 09 programmers, and just
well,
get
I hope
some
so, and
background
I
on
hope they get something positive out of it.
All right,
Okay,
thanks
well,
for all
I'm
your
going to
time,
let you
Wayne.
go so I can start figuring out what's going wrong with my program.
Okay, good luck debugging. Happy hunting.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Thanks, you too. We'll talk to you later.